Heard It Health is sponsored video content brought to you by MedCity News.
Welcome to Heard It Health. I'm Katie Adams, a reporter with MedCity News, and I'm here with Cal Patel, the CEO of BrightInisight, which is a company that partners with biopharma and medtech companies to develop regulated digital solutions, including companion apps. So, pharma companies seem to be embracing digital technologies more rapidly than they have in the past, but it looks like digital therapeutics has been a category that has kind of failed to take off. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's really around not just having a good idea, but an idea that has to have a really sound business model behind it. And I think what we're seeing with digital therapeutics is that they might be solving a good clinical problem and in fact get great clinical evidence, even FDA approval against that problem, but don't have the reimbursement model or a way to get compensated for that innovation. And so I think we're really in the early days in digital health overall. It kind of reminds me of the dot-com days where we're going to probably see many companies just go away, and that's probably a good thing because I think a lot of them were solving problems that weren't really meaningful problems to be solved or didn't have a business model or product against that, which against how they were solving it, right? And so I think at the end of this, what we'll see is companies that truly are solving an important problem and are really doing it with product in a scalable way and not just by kind of throwing people at it.
That makes sense. So I also want to talk about a partnership last year that BrightInisight had. You announced a partnership with CSL Behring to develop digital tools, and I want to know, can you talk specifically about what you've developed, how these tools have progressed, how has the partnership progressed?
Sure. Yeah, so CSL Behring is one of our enterprise customer partners, and so far we've done 2 programs with them wrapped around 2 of their major therapies. The first one was this program called, it's for the drug Hizentra. Hizentra is treatment for patients with an illness called primary immunodeficiency, and traditionally these patients have to go into clinic and get infused on a regular basis every week or 2. And what Hizentra does is let them get treated at home, and we're the companion app that really helps that transition from in the clinic into the home. So we originally launched in the United States. Now we've launched with them in Japan, Canada, Latin America, have a new version of the app out, seeing great results in the App Store, 4.5+ ratings. I think the latest stats I saw was 30% of the population in the US is using the app, and if they're using it around 12 months in, about 89% are still using that app, so just really good data wrapped around it, and for CSL, it's really unlocking data that they've never seen before. Like now the app has recorded hundreds of thousands of infusions as an example, and with that brings data and insights that they can do to better improve the experience they're providing for their patients. And then most recently, we launched another solution for them wrapped around a gene therapy called Hemgenix. It's for hemophilia B patients. It's actually the first gene therapy approved for this very rare disease. And it's really helping patients that really are going through lifelong prophylactic injections of factor IX, basically this protein that helps them not bleed. And what the app does for this patient population is really gives them really customized patient education, as well as help them track their bleeds so that they can really see how their treatment is going, as well as provide them a really novel way to interface and engage with their care team.
Excellent, glad I checked in. Seems like you have some good outcomes data there. Before we end our conversation, I wanted to talk and get your take on what are some of the biggest pain points are that these medtech and pharma companies have that you really think digital tools can address?
Yeah, it's a great question. If you kind of think about your general life, almost everything you do has some digital component to it, right? Because you see the obvious sort of convenience or experience improvement, and ultimately, you're better off as a consumer having that digital support. It's the same thing for pharma and medical device products. So in the case of pharma, what we see a lot of is patients are either struggling to get appropriately diagnosed, or they're getting diagnosed, and many of those patients never even get to that first prescription. And that could be because they're not aware of and don't see, for example, like their copay assistance programs. They may not know where in the process the insurance company approval is, and so they kind of forget about it or lose motivation to get on therapy. They may need support because it might be the first time they're doing, for example, a self-injectable, and they may need nursing support, et cetera. So these are the types of areas where there's clear pain points where instead of having kind of the traditional sort of fragmented, people-driven support, how do you bring a one-stop shop digital experience to help patients navigate all of these types of things? And then once you're on therapy, there's also the challenge of, in our crazy lives that we all live, how do you stay adherent, right? How do you know that it's actually working for you? These are also the types of problems that we're seeing where digital could really help, either through personalized drug dosing, personalized adherence, or even helping just track your disease progression, and for you personally, so you know how it's working for you. And that can be a really great source of motivation to stay on therapy. Or if you find out it's not working, how do you make the change so that you get something that's working for you? So these are just some of the examples that we're working on with major pharma companies, really wrapped around their drug therapies to help drive ultimately better engagement, but importantly better clinical outcomes, and obviously through that better business results.
Interesting. Thank you for going through those. And thank you for your time today, Cal. I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Same to you. My pleasure.